Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern as we reminisce over the fact that as we go into the future we will no longer have Kodak moments.
That's right. They're hello everyone. They're just for the photo albums now.
That's right. They pioneered that whole thing and now they're on the verge of bankruptcy. It's I guess in a way an indictment on what happens when new technology sort of surpasses or replaces old technology. And no matter how big a company is, no matter how well respected it is, how well known it is, how even I'd say even Kodak is it's hit in the culture as well for all those years. Doesn't matter how big it is, but if it doesn't adapt like these guys, they didn't do it, and now they're gone.
Innovation creates and innovation destroys, and it's interesting. Kodak was at the forefront of innovation for, I don't know, it's 130 years maybe or so, or at least the majority of it. And they, created a lot of great advances, in cameras, film, and print, and then just dropped the ball, and they're gone.
And just as we were discussing before we started, the irony was that back in 1975, all the way back then, they'd invented the digital camera.
They invented the digital camera, and then they did nothing with it
because it was going to kill their film business. I mean, how nuts can you be? But
well, they got that bit right. It killed their film business.
It definitely did, but just
should have smashed it with a hammer.
Just not in their favour. I was doing a bit of reading on this, and it seemed to me I was reading one article where the suggestion was that it was something along the lines of what say Hollywood goes through in terms of this transition from going to film to digital. There's like an ingrained adherence to tradition to stick to that type of technology, whereas Hollywood obviously has the option of ditching that technology whenever, and now they're sort of getting to the point where they're probably going to go all digital very soon, but Kodak doesn't have that option, and it almost seemed like they were stuck in that tradition as well.
It's pretty funny, isn't it? Because Hollywood has ignored the situation just like Kodak. But the difference is Hollywood will still make films.
That's right.
As you say, Ben, their business is still there. Kodak's isn't.
But it's an extraordinary business that they had for such a long time, Kodak, if we talk about Hollywood in particular. And, just in print exhibition, they were at their height, they were earning $500 million a year out of Hollywood. So, I mean, that's extraordinary. And now, just as if you want to throw out more figures, back in 97, the shares were $39 a share. Yeah. And just the other day, as of January 19th, the shares were 36 cents.
Well, that's what happens probably in 97. 80% of people were still using cameras with film in them.
Yeah.
Maybe now there's 37 people in the world still using cameras with film. It sounds to me their share price is overpriced.
Well, at best, it's a hobby vehicle. There are going to be people who want to, take shots with film because it's a hobby, but it's never going to be the kind of business that it once was. And it's a bit of a shame, really, because it was a cultural icon. The Kodak moment became a cultural icon. So it's a shame that it's kind of had to come to that. But when your phone can now replace a point and shoot camera, why would you have even a point and shoot camera, let alone a film camera? So
Exactly, but it is it's as you say, it's a complete shift in technology now. So photos still exist, or images still exist. They're just digital now, and we've seen it happen. We've seen very rapid change happen. So in the consumer market, we've gone from you watching your holiday films on Super 8 to watching them on VHS to watching them off DVD, and now probably not watching them off anything except straight out of iMovie. So, you know, that whole physical intermediate process is gone. I mean, for all money, I reckon really DVDs are gone as well as soon as the bandwidth are there, even Blu-ray. So, you know, you're seeing a huge shift that actually just chops out the old technology in the middle. The images are still there, the technology's advanced, but the actual hard copy or the way we trade in these mediums is gone.
Yeah, it's the way it's done. It's not the actual what it is. It's just the way it's done. And, you know, if you get a device like an iPad, it's going to replace your photo album. Some people will still like to be able to print the pictures and, you know, do all that. But really, with the technology, you can have it all in some sort of electronic medium.
Do you print pictures out at all anymore, Ben?
I don't, but Shell does, of course, and because, you know, part of it is like, well, you know, you got to make sure that you know, can have a look and sort of have something physical to pick up and sort of scan through, which is fair enough. My mum's probably the same as well, you know.
There's nothing nicer than a photo album, but unfortunately, digital has just killed all of that.
Oh, absolutely. Like for me, you know, even though I wouldn't have thought this last year, but with an iPad purchase looming, that is going to be one of the functions I'm going to use it for. That you can just pick it up off the coffee table and you can instantly flick through your entire photo history. Now, obviously, a company like Kodak can't fit into that because where in their business model does it allow you to do something like that?
Exactly.
Using their products. So that's exactly why they're down the toilet now.
So that was the way it was. You know, people had photo albums, they had their paper prints, and one can only wonder. I mean, we know how people deal with their photos now, as you're saying, Ben, with your iPad or whatever other device. But if I wonder what would have happened if Kodak had actually embraced the digital camera. They would have found themselves in the middle of that revolution, and they would have probably had even more innovations. They were an innovation company.
Yeah, so instead of a company like Apple inventing a lot of this stuff or coming out with this stuff, you might have had Kodak coming out with it instead. I mean,
Kodak inventing a tablet. Can you imagine that?
The Kodak tablet, you know, for all those Kodak moments, it would have been perfect. How could they not see it?
They would have called theirs though an album, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And you would have just scrolled through your images just like that.
Oh, exactly right. Just as like an interesting sort of sidebar too, if we're looking at similar companies that could potentially head down this route, we were just discussing before too. BlackBerry RIM is in a bit of strife at the moment. Nokia was a little bit as well, but they may have been given a lifeline by Microsoft,
rescued by Windows.
Yeah. it's a little boring and dull, but they might just get through that one. But BlackBerry really is in a bit of trouble because they had their time in the sun with at least a decade. They've got obviously the government and corporate world stitched up as being, makers of the corporate phone. But I mean, even Apple, not even just Apple, you get probably Android phones as well, are starting to make inroads into those markets, and it's only a matter of time before they go down as well.
Surely for BlackBerry, now that the iPad's in the boardroom, their handset can't last long. And this great comparison you've got there, because a short time scale, the same thing has happened to both Nokia and BlackBerry. And Nokia was a leader, but really they were just good at handsets. They probably didn't adopt the smartphone thing. BlackBerry, incredible. Years ahead of their time with the smartphone. They got there 5 years before anyone else, and now they're 5 years behind.
It's almost like, we created this great phone, and we're happy with that. Thanks very much. But
they never improved it. I mean, they never improved it.
The closest they ever got, and I can't remember what the model number was, but they did create a phone that had a touch screen, but it slid out, and then you got a keyboard underneath, and you sit there and you look at it and you go, no, that doesn't work. And that lame playbook thing that they came out with, which was like their 7-inch tablet, I think it was, that just didn't cut it either. And it's again, it comes down to this. You really have to have kind of a forward thinking. You have to keep your eye on the ball. Otherwise, you're not going to keep up with the way things work, and consumers are going to go with the horse, or bet on the horse, so to speak, that is going to give them what really they want and need, and what will be useful.
And that's the irony in this situation now. I think Kodak have got 3 or 4 months left to stave off bankruptcy, and they're actually going to use Apple's plan, and they want to do with photos what Apple did with music. Maybe if they had tried this 3 or 4 years earlier, I might give them a shot, but surely in 2012 it's just a little bit too late.
Oh, just a little bit, you think?
I was being kind.
Yeah, there's just no way that's going to work. And like you said, if anything, if they had their eye on the ball, they could have got there maybe even 12, 13, 14 years ago. Because I think computers at that stage had reached the point where they could interface and do this sort of interactivity with photos. So.
There is that time in 2001, which Steve Jobs, obviously, we know, stepped in, and Apple seized the moment, which was when they were predicting. It was openly predicted the PC was finished as a standalone, must-have device, and now it's just the centerpiece for the convergence. If Kodak had really been on their game, we were joking before about them inventing the tablet, but they may well have designed whole hubs or become part of the hub. Yeah. They could have been an iPod. Music with your photos.
So maybe that's the whole point. Apple stepped in and did a lot of that. And I guess, hopefully at some point some other companies will step in as well to offer some alternatives. I mean, that's a whole other discussion as well. But, someone is going to do it. But, at the end of the day, it certainly wasn't Kodak. And just as a sidebar, as we sort of start to finish up here, I just remembered back to our early shoot days when we were making films and such, and had some on-set photographers taking behind-the-scenes photos, all on film.
That's right.
And I used to remember them going through rolls. We take it for granted today that, you can chuck a memory card into a camera, and even your phones for that matter, and you can take thousands and thousands of photos and still have space left on your memory card. Wow. Those rolls maximum could only take 36 photos at a time.
Exactly.
And you had to pay like $10-12 a pop for each of them. I mean, what a business they had.
Oh, well, getting back to last week, it's a bit like the textbook manufacturers. Maybe they aren't embracing technology either. They're trying to stick with their old ways. But, times change, and you can have a nice, cozy business all stitched up like Kodak did. Yeah. But you can't, we live in a dynamic society. We live, as we keep on talking about, one where technology keeps on trumping old technology. You can't stand still in this business, and certainly BlackBerry and Nokia have both shown that in just the space of 10 years. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're rapidly running out of time, so we'd love to keep chatting about this, because it's always fascinating when you hear stories like this. It's obviously a big part of our upbringings, I would have thought, this company, and now it's gone. So it's a little bit sad, but at the end of the day, they didn't innovate, they didn't change. So what are you going to do?
I take better pictures now for free on my iPhone.
Absolutely, and you can beam them around to anyone who's got a correlated device.
That's right.
All right, so that's it for this week's episode. So don't forget our website's www.fistchat.com. Get all our links there, and we'll have some blogs up this week. We didn't mention the movie Other People's Money, which I believe both of us now have mentioned in the blogs, and we encourage you to go check it out, because there's a great speech at the end that directly relates to Kodak, I would have thought.
That's fine.
So, okay, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next week.